You don't get what you want, you get what you become. If people are not noticing you, if you feel invisible in your work, in your business, in your daily efforts, it's not because the world is unfair. It's because you haven't made yourself valuable enough yet. And that's the hard truth, but it's also the good news, because you can change that starting now. Most people spend their life waiting for someone to see their potential, waiting for a lucky break, waiting for things to get easier. But nothing changes until you change. The marketplace doesn't respond to need, it responds to value. And value is something you build day by day, choice by choice, habit by habit. In this video, I'm going to show you what it takes to become someone the world can't overlook. Not by shouting louder, not by showing off, but by becoming the kind of person who brings so much to the table, no one can ignore it. You'll learn how to grow your skill, how to raise your standards, how to build the kind of reputation that speaks without saying a word. This is simple, this is real, and this is the kind of message that can shift your life forward, if you're ready to hear it. So stay with it. Don't just watch. Listen, let's get to work. Number one, you don't get paid for time, you get paid for value. People don't just get ahead because they work hard. They get ahead because what they offer is too important to ignore. It's not about how long you've been doing something, it's about how well you're doing it. Time doesn't guarantee results, value does. And if you're sitting there wondering why no one notices your effort, the real question might be, have you made yourself valuable enough that it would hurt if you disappeared? That's where everything changes. You don't get rewarded just for showing up. You get rewarded for what you do when you show up. And you don't need to be a genius or have all the answers. You just need to focus on growing what you know and becoming better at delivering it. It's that improvement, real, measurable, and consistent, that makes you someone people want to work with, promote, follow, and invest in. The world doesn't hand success to the most talented, it hands it to the most useful. The person who brings solutions, the person who delivers results. When you really stop and think about it, there's something freeing about that, because it means you don't have to rely on someone else's permission to become more. You don't have to wait for someone to recognize your potential before you start growing your value. You get to decide that. You get to take full control of who you're becoming and how valuable you make yourself in this world. That's real power. That's something no one can take from you. People love watching someone evolve in real time. They admire it. It's one of the most inspiring things to witness. Someone who decides they're tired of being average and starts turning into someone remarkable. The YouTube audience wants to see the behind-the-scenes journey, not just the highlight reel. They want to see someone just like them, someone who's had enough of being stuck, finally rising up. So think about your own story. Think about the time you wasted trying to be liked, trying to fit in, trying to wait for things to happen on their own. That story doesn't end well. But the one where you take responsibility, that one's a winner. Let's get real. Most people think they're working hard, but they're just busy. They confuse activity with productivity. They keep themselves occupied, but don't actually get closer to where they want to go. That's not how you win. You win by becoming someone whose work is impossible to ignore. You want to be the person they think of first when there's a problem. You want your name to come up in rooms you're not even in. You want to be missed when you're not around, not because you're loud, but because you bring something that nobody else does. And here's what people don't always tell you. You don't have to be the smartest in the room, but you have to be the one who shows up sharp, prepared, focused, and determined. People remember how you made things easier, how you helped the team win, how you stepped up when it counted. That's value. And value earns you options. Options to move up, options to build your own thing, options to say no when it's time to say no. Now think about this carefully. Your job, your business, your relationships, they're all built around an invisible economy of value. Every day you're either adding to it or subtracting from it. You're either solving problems or becoming one. You're either making people's lives easier or harder. And the sooner you start thinking this way, the sooner things begin to change. That's what people respect. They may not say it out loud, but they feel it. They know when they're around someone who brings real weight to the table. If you want to grow your value, then you need to look at what you've been avoiding. Is it public speaking? Is it managing your time better? Is it finally getting in shape because you know your energy levels affect how you perform? Stop avoiding what you know would make you stronger. That's where the growth is. That's where the value is hiding. Everyone wants the reward, but very few want the responsibility that comes with it. But if you take on that responsibility, if you make yourself more capable, more prepared, more disciplined, there's no limit to where you can go. Now here's the secret. Value stacks up. It's not just one big thing that changes your life. It's the 100 little things that you do when no one's watching. It's the extra 10 minutes you spent learning instead of scrolling. It's the way you fixed something without being asked. It's the way you followed through even when it was hard. You do those things long enough, and suddenly you become the person everyone turns to. Success loves preparation, and preparation is the path to value. Most people are sitting around waiting to be noticed, but the people who get noticed are the ones who spent time becoming excellent while no one was watching. That's what this is about. You want to become the kind of person they can't afford to overlook, not because you're loud or flashy, not because you beg for attention, but because your presence moves the needle, because your effort makes the difference. So ask yourself right now, what could you get better at today? What do you know you've been putting off? What's the one thing that if you improved it would make you more effective? Start there. And don't just do it once, do it until it becomes part of who you are. Build your value like it's your legacy, because it is. When you bring real value to the table, the right people will find you. The right opportunities will open up. And you'll never have to chase approval again. You'll walk into every room with quiet confidence because you'll know you earned your spot. And once you earn it, no one can take it from you. Now, that's how you make yourself so valuable, they can't overlook you. Number 2, become so skilled they rely on you. People notice greatness when it's real, not when it's loud, not when it's forced, but when it's undeniable. That's the goal. To become so skilled, so effective, so reliable that others depend on you without even thinking about it. You walk in the room and things get better. You speak and people listen. You deliver and people trust you'll do it again. That's the kind of presence you want. The kind that doesn't need hype or explanation. Because when you're skilled, the results do the talking. You don't have to scream for respect when your work already demands it. And the truth is, in this world, the people who rise are the ones who have built themselves in silence. While others were distracted, chasing quick wins, they were studying, practicing, failing, fixing, and mastering. Skill doesn't come from wishing. It comes from repetition, from late nights, early mornings, quiet discipline. That's what separates those who are just showing up from those who are getting ahead. The world opens up for people who know what they're doing. It's not enough anymore to just know the basics. That's not going to move your life. That's not going to make people say, we need them. You've got to reach the point where your skill level solves problems other people can't. You have to be the one who gets the job done without excuses. That's when people start depending on you. And when people depend on you, you become impossible to ignore. Now, this doesn't mean you need to be perfect. No one is. But you do need to be intentional. You need to wake up every day and ask yourself, how do I become better at what I do? Because that one question, if answered with action, has the power to change your life completely. You don't need approval. You don't need applause. You need practice. You need work that stretches you. You need failure that teaches you. Every challenge is a new chance to sharpen your edge. That's how you grow. And people love watching that kind of growth. They love watching someone who used to struggle become someone who leads. It's inspiring because it feels real. It's not some made-up story. It's someone deciding they won't be average anymore. That kind of transformation is what keeps viewers watching the full video. They connect to the struggle, they stay for the progress, and they cheer for the win at the end. You want to keep your audience locked in? Then speak directly to the part of them that knows they were meant for more. Because deep down, most people are tired of being overlooked. They're tired of being underestimated, but they haven't yet turned that frustration into discipline. That's the bridge, turning disappointment into drive. The people who build real skills aren't motivated by the spotlight. They're motivated by the idea of becoming unstoppable. That's what keeps them working. That's what makes them study longer, train harder, stay committed when it's not easy. They know they're building something that lasts. And once it's built, no one can take it from them. Here's what happens when you become highly skilled. Your name starts coming up in rooms you've never stepped in. People recommend you without you asking. Your reputation grows without you even being there to defend it. That's not luck. That's the reward for getting good. So good that they don't even think twice. They just know. Give it to them, they'll handle it. That level of trust, that level of respect is earned. And the best part? It's something you control. You don't have to wait for someone else to give it to you. Start with where you are. Don't get overwhelmed by what others are doing. Just look at your own life and be honest. What skill, if improved, would make everything better? What one thing, if mastered, would open new doors for you? Focus there. Don't scatter your energy. Lock in on one area and go deep. Mastery isn't about doing 100 things. It's about doing one thing 100 times until it becomes part of you, until it's automatic, until people see you and think they've got this. That kind of discipline isn't always glamorous. It's not always exciting, but it's always worth it. And it always pays off. Most people quit too soon. They stop practicing when it gets hard. They stop learning when it gets boring. But that's exactly when you separate yourself. That's the line between average and excellent. The people who push through that wall are the ones who come out on the other side with a skill no one can match. And once you've got that kind of skill, the game changes. You start walking differently. You speak with more clarity. You don't have to fake confidence. It's real because it's built on something solid. You know what you can do, and you know you've earned the right to do it. That's not arrogance. That's ownership. And people feel it. They respect it. They trust it. So stop trying to look impressive. Stop waiting for someone to recognize your potential. Start building your skill until there's no room left for doubt. Turn the volume down on distractions. Turn the focus up on your growth. Skill isn't loud, but it's powerful. It doesn't beg, it delivers. And when it delivers consistently, it becomes your silent resume, the kind of resume no one ignores. This is how you become someone people rely on. Not just someone who's nice to have around, but someone they need. Someone they think of when things matter. You want to stop being overlooked? Then stop being average. Build something in yourself so strong, so real, so useful that the world takes notice. Not because you asked for it, but because you earned it. Now, that's how you shift the way people see you. That's how you take control of your life. And that's how you become so skilled they can't afford not to have you around. If you're serious about leveling up, stay with this series because we're only getting started. Number 3, stop seeking attention, start earning respect. If you want to do something great with your life, stop trying to be seen and start working on being respected. That's where everything starts to change. In this world, there are a lot of people making noise. They're chasing attention, trying to go viral, trying to be noticed every second of the day. But attention is temporary. It fades. People forget what you said. They forget the flash. What they don't forget is how you made them feel, what you delivered, how consistently you showed up with something real. Respect sticks. And the only way to get it is to earn it. Not by being loud, not by forcing it, but by being the kind of person people can trust, count on, and learn from. Respect is something that builds slowly. You don't demand it. You don't post about it. You live in a way that makes people give it to you naturally. They see your discipline. They see the way you carry yourself, the way you speak with purpose, the way you keep your word. And little by little, they begin to notice. Quietly at first, then consistently, and eventually your name carries weight, not because you asked for it, but because you earned it. That's the difference between seeking attention and earning respect. One is about ego, the other is about character. Now, this is important. The people who chase attention usually burn out. They're stuck in a cycle of trying to impress others instead of improving themselves. It's exhausting, and it never leads to anything solid. But the people who build respect are in it for the long game. They're not just looking for views or followers. They're looking to build a foundation. They're working on something that matters. And because of that, they last. They stay in the game long after the trends fade. There's something powerful about walking into a room and not needing to say much, because your presence speaks for itself. People feel it when you've done the work. They recognize it in your posture, your tone, your mindset. You don't need to impress anyone when your reputation already does that for you. And that reputation is built in the dark. It's built when no one is watching. It's built through 1,000 small decisions that say, I'm going to show up with excellence, even if nobody claps for it. Now let's talk about how this really affects your life. When you seek attention, you become dependent on it. You constantly need the next like, the next compliment, the next good job. And when it doesn't come, you feel empty. That's not freedom. That's being trapped by the opinions of others. But when you earn respect, you move different. You're grounded. You don't need constant validation because your value is not based on whether someone notices you today. It's based on who you've become through consistency, through patience, through real effort. YouTube loves this kind of content, not because it's flashy, but because it's meaningful. People stay on videos like this because it speaks directly to what they've been feeling. They've been trying to be seen. They've been trying to get recognized, but deep down, they know there's more. They want to matter. They want to be respected. So when you deliver something that touches that nerve, they stay. They watch the whole thing. They share it because it reflects something real in them that's been waiting to be called out. If you want to grow fast, seek attention. If you want to build something that lasts, earn respect. That principle applies to every area of life. In business, it's the difference between a customer and a lifelong client. In friendships, it's the difference between someone who shows up for fun and someone who shows up when it counts. In relationships, it's the difference between surface-level interest and deep loyalty. When you live in a way that commands respect, people respond to you differently. You don't have to beg for chances. You don't have to convince anyone. You just have to keep being excellent. Now, respect doesn't mean you'll always be liked. In fact, sometimes it means people will distance themselves because your standards are too high for them. But that's okay. Not everyone is meant to walk with you. Some people are only around when you play small, when you start raising your standards, when you stop playing games, when you take your goals seriously. Some people won't know what to do with that. That's fine. Because the people who recognize your effort, your growth, your strength, those are the people who matter. The truth is, respect makes you valuable in every room you walk into. It's the reason someone chooses you for an opportunity. It's the reason someone listens when you speak. It's the reason your name gets mentioned when solutions are needed. And all of that has nothing to do with popularity. It has everything to do with how you show up when no one's watching. It has everything to do with the quality you put into everything you do, big or small. There's something magnetic about someone who respects themselves enough to not settle. When you take pride in your work, when you take care of your appearance, when you control your emotions, when you stay sharp in your thinking, that's rare. And rare always stands out. You don't have to wave your hands or shout about it. The people who matter will see it. The right people will recognize it. And they'll know, without you ever saying a word, that you're someone they want to work with, learn from, and grow alongside. So if you've been stuck trying to be noticed, if you've been frustrated because your effort doesn't seem to get the attention it deserves, stop worrying about attention. Start building your respect. Focus on doing things right. Focus on showing up with excellence, even when no one thanks you for it. Focus on becoming someone whose presence improves the room. That's how you change your life. That's how you become so valuable they can't overlook you. Not because you shouted the loudest, but because your value spoke for itself. And when that happens, everything begins to move in your favor. Number 4, do more than expected without being asked. If you want to move up in life, there's one habit that separates the respected from the forgotten. Doing more than expected without anyone needing to ask you. This principle alone can transform your reputation, your income, your relationships, and your entire future. Most people wait around, they wait for instructions, they wait to be told what to do, and they never realize that their whole life is being defined by that habit, waiting. But the ones who rise, the ones people talk about, trust, and rely on, they're the ones who see what needs to be done and do it. No reminder, no push, no reward expected. There's a certain mindset that builds winners, and it starts with refusing to live at the level of bare minimum. The truth is, nobody ever made themselves unforgettable by doing just what was asked. The people who become valuable, the ones who are kept around when budgets get tight, when cuts are made, when choices are hard, they're the ones who made themselves necessary. And that's what you want. You want to be needed. You want to be missed when you're not in the room. That doesn't happen by chance. That's built on a pattern of doing the kind of work most people ignore. You have to think differently. You have to stop measuring effort in terms of obligation. It's not about doing what's required. It's about doing what creates impact. You see a problem? Fix it. You notice something's off? Adjust it. Don't wait for someone to point it out. Don't wait for praise. The praise will come later. What matters more is building a reputation for being the person who improves every situation they step into. That kind of person doesn't need to fight for opportunity. Opportunity finds them. And here's where it gets really powerful. When you develop the habit of going the extra mile, your confidence starts to rise. You stop looking for approval from others because you're too focused on building something meaningful inside yourself. You walk differently. You speak with more certainty. You don't second guess your value because you know the quality you bring. That's the kind of energy people remember. That's what makes leaders. That's what creates influence. Not just knowing what to do, but doing more than most would think to do. Now, the average person hears this and feels overwhelmed. They think, I'm already doing enough. But that's the problem. Thinking you've done enough is what keeps you stuck. It's what keeps you in the same place year after year. You don't grow by staying in your comfort zone. You grow by stretching it. You grow by looking at your day and asking, what more could I do to improve what I touch? Not out of pressure, but out of purpose. Because once you make that shift, everything begins to open up. And people love watching that. You want to talk about content that holds attention? This is it. Growth, personal responsibility, silent discipline. That's what people connect to. Not just motivation, but transformation. Viewers don't want another empty pep talk. They want a mirror. They want to hear someone say what they've been feeling in their own head. And when you speak to that, they stay, they keep watching. Because deep down, they want to know it's possible to live a better life without needing a permission slip. You've got to understand how rare it is to meet someone who consistently does more than required. Most people cut corners. They hide when no one's looking. They save energy for when it benefits them. But the people who win long term, they're building habits even when the payoff isn't instant. They're adding value even when no one's keeping score. That's what makes them stand out. That's what builds long-term credibility. Not just one great moment, but years of quiet excellence. Think about it. Think about the people you admire, the ones you trust. They're not the ones who only show up when it's convenient. They're the ones who showed up early, stayed late, and didn't complain in between. They didn't need a spotlight. They didn't need a trophy. They needed to live with standards that didn't change depending on who was watching. That's powerful. That's rare. And that's who you can choose to become. Nobody can stop you from going above and beyond. That's the part most people miss. You don't need permission to be excellent. You don't need someone to assign you a title before you start acting like a professional. You start right now. You start by changing the way you handle the smallest tasks, the way you respond when you're tired, the way you treat work that others overlook. That's where you build momentum. And once that momentum starts rolling, it doesn't slow down, it multiplies. The most successful people I've ever met weren't born with more talent. They just developed a deeper commitment. They got addicted to improvement. They built a pattern of excellence that followed them everywhere. And people noticed. Clients noticed, bosses noticed, teams noticed. And slowly, they became someone who couldn't be replaced. Not because they begged for attention, but because they earned trust through consistent, uncommon effort. And yes, it's harder. Yes, it takes more discipline. Yes, you'll have days when you wonder if it's worth it. But here's the truth. The effort you invest today is the reputation that will carry you tomorrow. The work you do in silence is the foundation that your next breakthrough will stand on. So while everyone else is doing what's required, you do more. While everyone else is cutting corners, you raise your standards. While everyone else is distracted, you're locked in on becoming better. Because when you keep doing more than expected without being asked, you don't just rise, you earn every inch of progress. You don't just stand out, you redefine what's possible. And you don't just build a career, you build a life of impact, a life that means something, a life you can be proud of. Stay with this journey. You're not watching this by accident. You're here because something in you knows it's time to level up. And we're not done yet. We've got more work to do. Number 5, keep growing when others get comfortable. There's a point in life when comfort becomes the enemy, not because comfort is bad, but because it tricks you into thinking you've done enough. You hit a goal, you make a little progress, and then you slow down. You start relaxing when you should be improving. That's the trap most people fall into, and it's exactly why they stop growing, because once they get comfortable, they stop pushing. But you want to become valuable? You want to make sure no one can ignore what you bring to the table? Then you need to keep growing even after everyone else starts settling. It's easy to push hard when you're struggling. When your back is against the wall, when the bills are due, when life demands your hustle, you move. But what about when things start getting a little better? That's where most people lose momentum. They say, I'm good now. And they start taking it easy. They stop reading, they stop learning, they start cutting corners because they feel like they've earned the right to coast. But here's what they don't realize. The second you stop improving, you start falling behind. You may not notice it right away, but the world keeps moving. And if you're not getting better, someone else is. The truth is, becoming great isn't about one big move. It's about refusing to plateau. It's about refusing to be the same person this year that you were last year. There's something powerful about someone who just keeps evolving. You watch them and think, man, they're still going, still learning, still leveling up. That kind of drive, it's magnetic. People want to be around that. They respect it, they follow it, and most of all, they remember it. What keeps an audience watching isn't perfection. It's real progress, the kind of growth that happens right in front of them. When you show that you're not stopping, that you're not satisfied with yesterday's wins, that you're hungry for better, even when you've already achieved something, that's what makes people lock in, because it gives them hope that they can grow too. And if you've been wondering why your life feels like it's stuck on repeat, this is probably the reason. You got comfortable when you should have kept going. Now, nobody's saying you shouldn't celebrate your wins. You should. But the celebration shouldn't become a new home. It should be a short stop, a moment to breathe, then back to building. That's how people keep rising, not by avoiding comfort completely, but by not letting comfort become a reason to stop. The moment you start thinking you've arrived is the moment you start slipping. You've got to stay humble enough to know There's always more to learn, always more to give, always another level you haven't reached yet. You've seen it happen. You've seen the ones who start strong and fade out, the ones who used to be sharp, but now they're just coasting. Their energy's gone, their edge is dull, because they stopped investing in themselves once the pressure was off. And the sad part, they don't even realize they've faded. They think they're still the same, but the world's already passed them by. You don't want that to be you. You want to stay sharp, stay ready, stay committed to becoming more, even when it's not urgent. Growth isn't supposed to be comfortable. It's supposed to stretch you. And if it's been a while since you felt uncomfortable, chances are you're not growing. You've settled into routines that don't challenge you anymore. You've surrounded yourself with people who never question your habits, and slowly your progress stops. Not because you lost your talent, but because you stopped applying pressure. You started protecting your comfort instead of chasing your potential. And this is exactly what holds people back from becoming valuable, because value is tied to growth. When you're growing, you're discovering new ideas. You're picking up new skills. You're thinking differently. You're becoming someone who's harder to replace. That's what makes you stand out. It's not just what you know, it's that you never stopped learning. That mindset alone makes you dangerous in the best way possible. Because while others are sitting still, you're still rising. Now think about what this means for your future. The person you become by choosing growth over comfort isn't just better, they're more prepared. They're ready for bigger opportunities because they've been training when no one was watching. They've been sharpening their thinking, improving their habits, pushing themselves mentally and emotionally, so when a door opens, they don't panic. They step in with confidence because they've already done the work. People respect that, they trust it. They don't second guess your value when they've seen how serious you are about improving. That's why this idea matters so much, because it's not just about being good at what you do. It's about showing that you never settle. That mindset becomes your brand, it becomes your identity, and it follows you wherever you go, into interviews, into boardrooms, into business deals, into relationships, into every area of your life. So if you've been feeling stuck lately, take a look at your routine. Has it gotten too easy? Have you stopped learning? Are you just going through the motions without any real challenge? Be honest with yourself. That honesty can unlock your next level. It can wake you up. It can pull you out of autopilot and put you back in the driver's seat. Because once you realize you've been sleeping on your potential, there's no excuse to stay the same. You're not watching this video just to feel better. You're here because something in you wants to be better. Something in you knows there's more out there. And the only way you'll reach it is if you commit to growth even when no one's pushing you. Even when things seem fine. Especially then. Because that's when it counts. That's when real character is built. That's when you go from average to exceptional. And the people who stay committed to that idea, they don't have to beg to be noticed. They don't have to fight for attention. Their growth speaks for them. Their results do the talking. Their mindset becomes their greatest weapon. And eventually the world stops and pays attention, not because they shouted, but because they outgrew everything holding them back. This journey we're on isn't about hype. It's about truth. And if you're still here, still listening, then deep down you know you're capable of more. So let's keep going. Let's keep stretching. Let's keep growing when the world says relax. Because that's how you rise. That's how you separate yourself. That's how you become someone they simply can't ignore. Number 6. Your work should reflect your standards. If you want to change how the world sees you, start by changing the standards you live by. Because your work, your choices, your behavior, they all reflect the level you've chosen to play at. You don't need to say anything. People can feel your standards just by watching how you carry yourself, how you finish a task, how you respond when something doesn't go your way. And that's where real transformation begins. Not in how loud you are, not in how many promises you make, but in how high you've set the bar for yourself when nobody's watching. This is one of those principles that separates those who rise from those who stay stuck. When your standards are low, you're easy to miss. You blend in, your work doesn't stand out. People can't count on you. And it's not because you're not talented, it's because you haven't made the decision to expect more from yourself. On the other hand, when you raise the standard of how you operate, when you make the choice to treat every responsibility like it matters, everything about you starts to shift. Your presence feels stronger. Your reputation becomes sharper. People don't just notice you, they remember you. And let's make this clear. This isn't about being perfect. Nobody's perfect, but it is about being committed. It's about refusing to settle for halfway. It's about doing things properly because you take pride in what you do, not because you're trying to impress anyone. That's where the real power is. Because when you bring that kind of discipline to your work, your habits, your goals, you become the kind of person people trust, and trust is everything. Trust is what creates opportunity. Trust is what makes people come back. Trust is what builds momentum. The audience watching this right now isn't here because they want another lecture. They're here because deep down, they want to be reminded that they're in control of their direction. That no matter what's happened in the past, they can raise their standards today and change everything moving forward. And that's why this message works so well. It's not abstract. It's not some vague motivational fluff. It's a direct call to step it up, to demand more from yourself, and to let your life reflect that decision in every area. Think about how you handle small things, the way you send an email, the way you show up to a meeting, the way you take care of your space. These aren't meaningless details. These are signs of your standards. People might not say anything, but they notice. They remember who was on time, who followed through, who didn't cut corners. And eventually those little impressions add up to a massive reputation. You become the go-to person, not because you said you were, but because you showed it. There's a quiet kind of confidence that comes when your standards are high. You don't need validation. You don't need applause. You don't need to convince anyone, because deep down, you know how much effort you've invested. You know how serious you are about becoming excellent. That shows in the way you speak, the way you walk into a room, the way you respond when things don't go as planned. People feel that, and that kind of energy is hard to ignore. Now, here's where most people get stuck. They think, well, nobody around me is doing more, so why should I? Why should I? That mindset will keep you average forever. Your standards should never be based on what others are doing. They should be based on the future you want to create, on the identity you're building, on the vision you've got for your life. If you let the world around you decide what's acceptable, you'll end up settling for a life you were never meant to live. But if you take control and raise the bar on yourself, your effort, your focus, your consistency, you start pulling away from the crowd. Quietly, steadily, relentlessly. And the audience that sticks with this kind of message, they're looking for that edge. They want to feel empowered. They want something practical they can do right now to take control. This is what locks them in. Real truth, real talk, no fluff. That's why it works. That's why they watch until the end. Because you're giving them something they can feel, something they can apply, something that challenges them to look in the mirror and say, I can do better. You don't need to chase praise when your work reflects your standards. You don't need to force anything when your energy speaks for itself. And once people realize you're someone who holds themselves to a higher level, they start adjusting how they treat you. You get more respect, more room, more opportunities, not because you demanded them, but because your habits made it clear you deserve them. Everything about your life starts to align with the standard you've chosen. If you're sloppy, things get chaotic. If you're disciplined, things start moving smoothly. It's not magic, it's cause and effect. You attract what you tolerate. You rise to the level of your expectations. So if your results aren't where you want them to be, look at your standards. Look at what you've been accepting. Look at how you've been operating when no one's around to keep score. When you raise your standards, you start showing up differently. You stop doing things halfway. You stop surrounding yourself with people who don't care. You start choosing better environments, better habits, better goals. And that shift is where the magic happens. That's when your life starts to feel more aligned, more powerful, more in control. Because now you're not reacting to life, you're leading it. This isn't a one-time thing. This is daily. This is how you live. This is how you train your mind to expect more and settle less. And the longer you stick with it, the more natural it becomes. Before long, you're not even thinking about it. It's just who you are. You've become someone with standards that create value, that inspire trust, that earn respect. And when you live like that, you don't need to beg to be noticed. You've made yourself so valuable, they can't overlook you. And that's the whole point. Number 7, work like you're being watched. Because you are. If you want to earn respect, if you want to stand out, if you want to truly rise, then start acting like someone's always watching. Because whether you see it or not, whether they say something or not, people are paying attention. They're observing how you handle pressure. They're noticing how you respond when things get difficult. They're watching how you treat others, how you show up, how you keep your word. It all counts. Every little detail. And what you do in the quiet moments is often what defines you the loudest later. This is where most people get it wrong. They think effort only matters when someone is looking. They think the only time to be excellent is when they're being evaluated. But the people who truly win, the ones who build real reputations, don't turn their work ethic on and off like a light switch. It's on all the time. It's a lifestyle. And that's exactly what makes them so valuable. Because when you build that kind of consistency, people start to trust you, even if they can't always explain why. They just feel it. Think about the people who've made a real impact in your life. They weren't just great in public. They were solid when no one was watching. That kind of consistency leaves a mark. And in today's world, that's rare. Most are chasing the next big reaction, trying to look the part instead of becoming the part. But when you live with integrity, real grounded integrity, you build something far stronger than attention. You build credibility. And you want to know what makes an audience stay on a video like this? It's the feeling that someone finally understands what they've been quietly struggling with. It's hearing the words that match the conversation they've been having with themselves in their mind. That's what hits. That's what makes them sit forward and keep watching, because it's not just content, it's a shift in perspective. If you're the kind of person who wants to be trusted, remembered, promoted, respected, and valued, then this mindset matters. You have to stop performing only when the stakes are high. You've got to start living like every move matters, because it does. Every moment is either adding to your credibility or subtracting from it. And it happens long before someone actually speaks up about it. Trust builds slowly, but it breaks instantly. So if you want to be taken seriously, you need to make serious habits a priority. Your reputation isn't what you post online, it's what people say about you when you're not around. And that's built through daily behavior. It's in the way you follow through when nobody checks in. It's in how you treat people who can't do anything for you. It's in the little things that most people ignore. When you choose to act as if someone's always watching, you naturally level up everything. Not because of fear, but because of personal pride. You start holding yourself to a higher standard. Not because you're told to, but because that's who you've decided to become. Let's be honest. This kind of discipline isn't easy. It requires thought. It takes emotional control. It takes a sharp eye for your own excuses. But here's the truth. People can feel when you're real, and they can definitely feel when you're not. If you only bring effort when the spotlight's on, people will pick up on that. You might fool them at first, but not for long. Eventually, cracks show, but when you show up consistently, even when there's no reward, even when it's inconvenient, people see that too. And over time, that's what sets you apart. You don't need to be flashy. You don't need to make noise. Just stay consistent. Stay sharp. Be the kind of person who finishes what they start. Be the one who says less and delivers more. Because in a world full of noise, consistency is louder than hype. Reliability is more rare than talent. And being solid, really solid, even when no one's looking, is a superpower. The way you do the small things says everything about how you'll handle the big things. If you can't manage the basics with care and responsibility, why would anyone trust you with more? That's not negativity, that's just truth. Responsibility attracts opportunity. So if you've been stuck, if you feel like you're being overlooked, if you're wondering why doors aren't opening, it might not be a problem with your talent. It might be a pattern in your consistency. What happens when someone watches you closely? Are you someone they'd trust with more responsibility? Are you someone who works harder when no one claps? Are you someone who does things right the first time because it matters to you, not just because someone told you to? That's the mindset shift that changes the game. When you stop needing the outside pressure and start applying your own internal pressure. When you stop reacting to rewards and start living by discipline. That's the moment you begin to stand out. Because that mindset is rare, and anything rare becomes valuable. This is the kind of message people save. They replay it. They let it sink in because they know it's not just words, it's a call to action. And if you're still watching right now, you already know it's time to raise your level. Not tomorrow, now. Not when someone asks for it, now. Not just when it's convenient, every day. You don't need to be the most talented. You don't need a fancy degree or perfect background. You just need to be someone who shows up like it all matters. Someone who lives like the world is paying attention, even when it's silent, because it's those quiet efforts that build loud results. You've got what it takes, but the next level doesn't come from hoping. It comes from showing up like someone is always watching, because eventually they will be. And when they are, you'll be ready. Because this time, you didn't wait to be seen, you made yourself undeniable. And that's how you build a future no one can take away from you. Number 8, never complain. Adapt and improve. You want to separate yourself from the pack? Then stop complaining and start adjusting. That's where the shift happens. That's where people stop noticing you for the wrong reasons and start respecting you for the right ones. The world is full of people pointing fingers, listing all the things that went wrong, all the people who failed them, all the reasons they're stuck. You can find that energy on every corner. But what's rare, what's powerful, is the person who steps back, takes a deep breath and says, okay, what can I fix? What can I learn? What can I do next? That kind of mindset is magnetic. When you build the habit of adaptation, you turn challenges into leverage. You stop letting circumstances decide how far you go. You don't give power to problems, you use them as fuel. That kind of thinking isn't popular because it requires responsibility. It means no more hiding behind excuses. It means no more waiting for someone else to come save the day. And honestly, that's what makes it so effective. The people who become valuable in any situation are the ones who keep moving forward while others freeze. Let's be clear, complaining is easy. It feels good for a few seconds. It gives you a little hit of validation, but it doesn't solve anything. It doesn't create progress. It doesn't push you forward. It's like spinning your tires in the mud. You make noise, you kick up a mess, but you don't go anywhere. And the longer you stay in that cycle, the more bitter you become. Bitterness kills growth. It clouds your thinking. It makes you miss opportunities that are sitting right in front of you. But when you choose to adapt instead, everything changes. You stop focusing on what's broken and start looking at what's still in your control. And you'd be surprised how much power you still have, even in the middle of a hard season. You can improve your habits. You can sharpen your skills. You can find a better attitude. You can treat people with respect, even if you're under pressure. Those are choices. And those choices, when stacked, build momentum that complaints could never give you. The thing people love about content like this is it calls them out without tearing them down. It tells the truth, but it also reminds them of what they're capable of. And that's exactly why people watch this kind of video all the way through. Because it doesn't just give a boost of motivation, it gives direction. It points to the mirror. It says, you don't have to stay stuck. You're not powerless, but you do have to take ownership. One of the fastest ways to become valuable is to be the calm one, the stable one, the person who, even when things go wrong, doesn't panic, doesn't blame, doesn't complain. They adjust. They stay steady. They look for a way forward. That kind of person is rare. That kind of person stands out in a world where most people are reactive. When you bring that energy into a team, into a relationship, into a business, people remember you. Not because you had the best ideas, but because you had the best mindset under pressure. It doesn't take a genius to complain. It takes zero discipline. But it does take real strength to adjust. To say, this didn't go the way I wanted, but I'll find a way to grow from it. That strength gets built over time. Every time you face a setback and choose not to spiral, you're building it. Every time you hear bad news and choose to stay grounded, you're reinforcing it. And over time, people notice. They begin to trust you because they know you won't crumble when things get messy. That's what builds a strong personal brand. Not just what you do when things are perfect, but how you carry yourself when they're not. Because in the real world, things don't always go according to plan. Projects fail, people disappoint you, deadlines get missed. But if you can hold your composure and keep moving forward with purpose, you make yourself irreplaceable. People want to work with someone who adapts, not someone who shuts down. You want to be someone that people turn to, not turn away from. That happens when you stop giving energy to things that don't move you forward. That happens when you train your mind to look for solutions, even in the middle of setbacks. Not fake positivity, not pretending everything's okay, but a grounded focus on what you can control and a strong decision not to let complaints steal your progress. The best part? You don't need anyone's permission to start thinking this way. You don't need to wait for perfect conditions. You start right where you are. You take one step, then another. You build resilience like a muscle. And with every step, you become someone who isn't just surviving, but growing. You start standing out not because you said more, but because you complained less and delivered more. And here's something you need to hear. If you're still blaming, still complaining, still stuck in that loop, it's not too late to change, but you do need to make the shift. Because time is moving, opportunities are showing up. And if you're not ready, if you're not mentally strong enough to take hold of them, you'll miss them. Not because they weren't meant for you, but because your mindset wasn't prepared. There's a version of you that already knows how to handle pressure, that already knows how to move forward without excuses, that already knows how to take what life throws and turn it into something useful. But that version doesn't come alive through complaints. It comes alive through decisions, through a choice to be better, stronger, sharper. So today, start listening to how you speak about your problems. Catch yourself when you start to complain. Replace those words with action. Replace that frustration with growth. Because the more you practice adapting instead of whining, the more powerful you become. You stop being another person with a list of reasons why it didn't work out, and you become the person who found a way anyway. That's how you become someone they can't ignore. Not by being the loudest, not by being perfect, but by being resilient, by being grounded, by being the one who adjusts and grows while everyone else is wasting time explaining why they're stuck. And if you've made it to the end of this, that says a lot about you. That means you're not here for surface level advice. You're here to grow. So stick with it, because the way you think determines the life you live. And when you start thinking like a builder instead of a blamer, your whole life starts to rise. Number 9, the more you can do, the more you're worth. If you want to become someone people can't ignore, then start by becoming the person who can do more than one thing well. The more you can do, the more useful you become. That's the reality. In today's world, being one-dimensional is dangerous. If you've only got one skill and the world no longer needs it, or someone comes along who can do it better or cheaper, you're done. That's a harsh truth, but it's one you need to hear. Because the people who rise, the ones who stay in demand, who are always part of the conversation, are the ones who decided to stretch themselves. They became capable of handling multiple things. They didn't settle for being decent at just one thing. They kept expanding. You don't have to master everything, but you do need to keep learning. You need to be adaptable. You need to be someone who can solve different types of problems. That's how you make yourself valuable in any environment. The people who always seem to have options, who never seem to be stuck, they're not lucky. They just built a wide skill set. They paid attention. They learned how to write well, how to speak with clarity, how to lead, how to manage emotions, how to listen, how to work with different personalities, how to finish what they start. Those things don't show up on a resume the way titles do, but they're the reason doors open. Right now, you have a choice. You can keep doing just enough to get by, or you can start asking yourself what new skill you could develop that would immediately increase your usefulness. And it's not about overloading yourself. It's about being intentional. Every new thing you learn adds a layer of confidence to your identity. It expands your ability to contribute. And the more you can contribute, the harder it becomes for anyone to overlook you. People want to watch content that helps them take control. They want to walk away from a video and say, I can apply that today. That's what holds attention. That's what drives real connection. And this message, this idea that your worth increases when your skill increases, speaks to something deep. Because most people are tired of being stuck. They're tired of being passed over. And nobody ever told them that the real solution isn't luck or timing. It's building yourself up so strong that the world can't ignore you anymore. If you've ever felt replaceable, here's your answer. Learn more, grow faster, take on something new. Most people stop learning after school. That's the mistake. That's why they plateau. But the people who win, the ones who stay ahead, they read when others watch TV. They practice when others make excuses. They ask questions even when it makes them uncomfortable. They stay sharp when the rest are getting dull. And because of that, they keep leveling up while others are wondering what happened. Let's get practical. You don't need a degree to learn how to communicate better. You can improve how you speak by watching people who are good at it. Break it down, practice, record yourself, get feedback. That's how you sharpen. Or maybe you want to learn about business or fitness or leadership. The information is everywhere. But it's not enough to just know where to find it. You've got to apply it. You've got to absorb it until it becomes second nature. That's when it starts paying off. People are watching, maybe not every day, maybe not openly, but they notice the people who bring more to the table. They notice the ones who know how to handle different things without making a big deal about it. That kind of person gets trusted more, given more, and paid more. Not because they begged for it, but because they earned it. Quietly, consistently, relentlessly. And you know what else? When you start building more skills, your confidence goes up. You stop feeling like everything is a risk. You know deep down that if things change, you'll figure it out. That peace of mind, that's earned. That's the reward for becoming a person of value. For investing in yourself, not just when it's convenient, but when it's necessary. For deciding that average is no longer acceptable. Now, there are people who will tell you to stay in your lane, to focus on one thing and forget the rest. That might work for some. But the world we live in now rewards versatility. It rewards flexibility. It rewards people who are resourceful. So don't let anyone limit you. If you want to learn something new, do it. If you want to stretch into a new role, try it. If you want to add a new skill to your tool belt, go for it. Every new ability makes you stronger, and stronger people don't get ignored. Think about the impact you could make if you started treating your personal growth like your greatest responsibility. Not something you do once in a while, but something you commit to daily. A few pages of a good book, a few reps at the gym, a few honest conversations to improve your communication, a few uncomfortable moments spent learning something outside your comfort zone. Stack those days up. Watch who you become. You won't even recognize yourself a year from now. The people who build themselves up in silence eventually become the ones everyone turns to in the noise. You can be that person. It starts now. It starts by deciding that you're going to add something new to your life. Not just because you want to survive, but because you want to thrive. Because you want to walk into any room, any challenge, any opportunity, and know you've got the ability to handle it. You're not here to stay the same. You're not here to be average. You're here to grow into someone who brings so much value to the table that the world doesn't have a choice but to take notice. Keep building, keep stacking. You've got more in you than you realize, and the more you can do, the more powerful your presence becomes. You want to be needed? Then make yourself impossible to replace. Number 10, treat every opportunity like it's your big break. If you want to create a life that turns heads and earns respect, then you've got to treat every opportunity like it's your big break. Not just the ones that pay well, not just the ones that come with recognition. I'm talking about the small ones, the quiet ones, the ones nobody claps for. Because how you handle the things that seem minor is exactly how life decides whether or not you're ready for something bigger. Most people miss this. They're waiting for the perfect moment to give their best. They're holding back their full effort until something impressive comes along, but that mindset is the very thing that keeps them average. The truth is, you don't rise to the level of your dreams, you rise to the level of your habits. And when you train yourself to show up with focus, energy, and excellence, no matter how small the task, that becomes who you are. You stop turning it on and off, it becomes automatic. And when the real opportunity shows up, you won't have to scramble to prepare, you'll already be prepared. Because you've been living like it mattered every single day. There's something powerful about a person who doesn't need an audience to give their best. That's a rare kind of energy, and people feel it. Even if they don't say anything, they notice. They sense when someone shows up ready, even when no one's watching. That's what sets you apart. That's what makes people remember you. And eventually, that's what creates new doors where there used to be walls. The audience watching this right now is tired of being overlooked, tired of working hard and not seeing results, tired of waiting for something to change. But here's the truth they need to hear. Change doesn't come when you get the perfect opportunity. It comes when you start treating every opportunity like it's the one. The shift happens when you stop waiting for the big moment and realize the big moment starts with how you show up for the small ones. And that's why this kind of content keeps people watching until the end, because it speaks to something real, something most people feel deep down but don't always hear out loud. It reminds them that they're not powerless, that they have control, that their daily choices matter more than they think. This isn't just another feel-good message. This is a mindset upgrade. This is how you flip the switch and take your life from overlooked to undeniable. Think about this. Every opportunity you walk into is also walking into you. It's watching how you carry yourself. It's paying attention to your preparation, your presence, your attitude. And when you give it everything, even if it's not glamorous, even if it's not what you want long term, you build a habit of showing up with excellence. That habit compounds. It starts to follow you. It becomes your signature. So by the time the next opportunity comes around, you've already got the muscle built to crush it. No warm-up needed. And let me tell you what separates winners from wishers. It's not talent, it's not background, it's not luck. It's the mindset of this matters. The person who treats the unpaid project with care. The one who speaks with clarity in every conversation, not just the important ones. The one who over-delivers on the boring tasks, not just the exciting ones. That's the person who builds trust, and trust, once it's earned, opens doors faster than any resume ever could. This is where you step into a new level of responsibility. No more waiting to be discovered, no more playing it safe until something better comes along. This is about choosing to become the kind of person who makes everything better. Every room, every role, every task. Because when you operate like that, people can't help but take notice. Not because you forced them to, but because your work, your energy, your consistency made it impossible to ignore. So ask yourself, how are you treating what's in front of you right now? Are you giving it half effort because it's not what you really want? Or are you giving it everything because it's a chance to prove you're ready for more? The answer to that question will tell you everything you need to know about where your life is headed. Because the people who rise are the ones who don't wait to be handed something shiny. They polish what they have until it shines. And if you're thinking, but this isn't the opportunity I wanted, that's fine. It doesn't have to be the final step. It just needs to be a step forward. Treat it with care. Use it to build character. Use it to train discipline. Use it to refine your skills. Because one day, you're going to look back and realize the way you handled the small moments was what prepared you for the big ones. And the big ones won't show up unless they trust you can handle the weight. This is how you become someone who stands out. Not by waiting for something perfect, but by treating the imperfect moments with excellence. And the more you do that, the more people will talk about you when you're not in the room. They'll say things like, give it to them, they'll get it done. And that kind of reputation is worth more than any title. Keep showing up with focus, keep delivering like it matters, keep sharpening yourself in private, because the next opportunity might not knock, it might just walk by, looking for someone who's already ready. Make sure it sees you. Make sure it stops at your door, because you were the one who didn't wait to rise. You chose to rise. This is how you earn your space. This is how you prove to the world, and more importantly to yourself, that you're someone who can be counted on. And when you live like that, you don't just get noticed, you get remembered. Stick with this message. We're not done. There's more to build. And if you keep showing up with this kind of mindset, your moment won't just come, it'll come looking for you.